In this video, I am going to use Zwrap to wrap a base mesh from TextureXYZ with p-face textures on top of the model which I created. So this is the model I want the base mesh from TextureXYZ to wrap on. So I'm going to import the base mesh from TextureXYZ. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate with just this head. So this is the model which I created. So I'm going to wrap the base mesh on top of this. So I'm going to hide all the unwanted parts like the hair in the tear duct. And now I'm going to import the base mesh from TextureXYZ. Because the model had a multiple subdivision, it's going to ask this topology of mesh change. Do you want to transfer? This is not the same mesh, so I'm going to press no. This is the mesh from TextureXYZ. As you can see, it is pretty big. First thing we have to do is we have to change the size of the model. I'm going to turn off symmetry, snap this pivot of the manipulator to center, and I'm going to rescale it. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just have to match a little close, maybe as close as possible. As I said, it don't have to be perfect. Most of the work is going to be done in Zwrap, so just want to get it a little close, especially on this eye part. Yeah, I think this is fine. So a few things to keep in mind when you want to work in Zwrap. The order of the items matter, and the visibility also matters. I'm going to turn off everything that is not needed, and the order of the mesh, that is, the first mesh should be the base mesh that you want to wrap. In this case, this is the base mesh that I want to wrap, and the second mesh in the list, on the subtool list, should be the target mesh, the mesh which we want wrap to. So this is the mesh that I did. This is the mesh I want the base mesh to wrap onto, and you can have multiple subdivisions if you want. I'm going to keep it in 3. Even 2 is fine, but I'm going to keep it in 3. And I suggest not to take a mesh with millions of polygons. It might slow down the performance. So take a mesh with relatively good polygon and with good smoothness of the model. So I'm going to take this model with 3 subdivision level of 3, and I'm going to keep the base mesh in the first. I'm going to only have these 2 as visible objects. So these 2 are the only visible objects. If you install the Zwrap plugin, it will be in the Z plugin menu. So I'm going to Z plugin under Zwrap. You can see this 2 buttons. So yeah. So I'm going to press this to start Zwrap. Now the Zwrap is open. As you can see, this is how the models are. The blue one is going to be the one which is going to wrap, and the white is going to be the one which is going to wrap around. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the sync views button. So this will basically sync the views. This will come in handy as we work. So you can use the same shortcuts as you use in ZBrush. The same shortcuts will work. And I'm going to turn on symmetry for this both sides. This is for this base mesh, and this is for the reference. And what else? You can turn on snapping. This will snap all the points to a vertex when you go close to. As you can see, when I go near a vertex, it's going to snap to the vertex. So I'm not going to use this option. I just want symmetry and sync views. So how Zwrap works is we are going to define points on both the meshes, base mesh and also on the target mesh. And after that, and after that the software will use those points to wrap base mesh around the target mesh, and these points should be at a similarly identical positions. So you will understand as we work on, and always remember the order. I'm going to start from here 0 2, and as you can see uh, it skips a number. All the numbers are in even 0 2 and 4. Why it happens is because we turned on the symmetry. If you see the other side, you are going to see the odd numbers. So how it will work is it's going to consider this one as 0 1 2 3 4 5. I made some sense. And you have to click these in the same order on the target mesh also. If I press 0, sorry, if I click 0 here and if I press 0 here, what the software will try to do is it is going to try to wrap this point around this area, which is not what we want. 4 and 5. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention. As you can see, this base mesh has some interior parts like in an inner eyeball section, and I think it even has a mouth bag. If we start wrapping like this, later on these parts will also wrap somewhere, which will give some trouble, which will cause some issues. So there is a quick way to fix this. So I'm just going to cancel this. I'm going to start it from new. So before sending it to Zwrap, try to mask those areas. So right now I'm going to create some quick mask. I'm sorry, some quick polygroups. Okay, I'm going to mask all these interior parts. If you mask here, all the parts which you mask here in ZBrush are going to be transferred to the ZWrap also. So when the wrapping process starts, these parts won't be touched. So these parts will stay in place, and the other parts which are not masked, they are the ones which will wrap around the base mesh. You don't have to place too many points. You just want few points, and you can add few more where you feel there's a lot of density. So I'm going to, right now I created something around 16 points. So that is 8 points mirror 16, mirrored to 16. So I'm going to create points on the target mesh also in the same order. And if you created a point, and if you want to change it a little bit, or if you want to move the point, all you have to do is go over the point and the cursor will turn into an arrow. Now you can move it a little bit, move it around. So precisely place where it, now you can precisely place where you want it to be. I'm not going to create any of the points which are going to come in middle, because I want to turn off symmetry. Otherwise it's going to create 2 points at the same exact place. So I'm going to create all the points which have symmetrical opposite. And if you want to remove certain points without undoing, all you have to do is press Ctrl and hover over those points, and if you click, those points will be removed. Okay, now I'll create all the midpoints. I just want to create few midpoints. Okay, for some reason this version of Zwrap is having issue with the navigation. I'm just struggling. Now I'll turn off the symmetry and I'll start creating all the important midpoints. There is only going to be 2 or 3 at the tip of the nose, on lips, on chin, and somewhere on the forehead. Now is a good time to turn on the snapping, because both model have edges or points at the middle. So I can view them by going to scan wireframe. As you can see, there is a midline going, so I can snap this point exactly at the center, and even this base mesh also have a midline. Okay, now I'm going to create points on the ears. This is the frustrating part, but you don't have to create too much here also, because anyway, even if it's not wrapping it properly, you can always go to ZBrush, smooth it. You can always go to ZBrush and smooth it out and make some changes there. Both retopology and this wrapping process is a headache around these ears. I'm just going to quickly create 4 to 5 points. Okay, now everything is done. Hopefully this will work, so I can save this file. All I have to do is go to modify and export. It's a good practice to save, because later on, if you have any issues with the wrapping process, you can start Zwrap and load all these points, and you can start editing from this point onwards. So once the points are placed, now all I have to do is I'm going to go to this wrapping tab, and hopefully this will work. Let's see. I just have to click on this fast wrapping button. Wrapping process is finished. Okay, here I think there is some issues. Okay, as you can see, for some reason this 46 moved near the nose. I'm just going to turn this X off. I'm just going to drag it back here. Okay, in this case I can't place it exactly, so I'm just going to keep it somewhere close. I think while navigating I moved the 46 point. I'm just going to go to wrapping again and fast wrapping. Process is finished, and we have some issues around the ears. I'm going to go to the select. I'm going to create a few more points. Turn on the symmetry. Okay, the wrapping is finished. There are a few more options that you can change in the Zwrap. You can go to the preference tab, and all these options you can change. But for most of the part, I never have to change any of these settings. But if you want to go full hardcore, you can go and change all these settings. But most of the time, these default values are going to work. And as you can see, there are few issues around the eyes. That's because those are the parts which we masked. All the green areas are the parts which we masked. So I'm going to finalize this, and I'm going to make few changes in ZBrush. So once you click on done, the mesh will be exported to ZBrush, or to say more precisely, the mesh will update to ZBrush. The base mesh will update to the target mesh. So now I have to do few adjustments. Most of them are this interior parts. I think I don't want this interior parts. Okay, I'm just going to create a duplicate. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the smart resim to snap all the mirrored vertices. Okay, let's say that this area is not looking symmetrical. I'm just going to make some changes here. This area is not symmetrical, and imagine this is how the mesh was exported from Zwrap. There are some areas which might have the same issues that we might not notice. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the symmetry, and I'm going to create a mask. Going to mask half of the model, and I'm going to smart reason. The best way I can think of is turn on the symmetry, but there are few areas like in the center of the model. As you can see, this loop is distorted. The only way I can think of to fix it is just turn on the symmetry and smooth it out. So this will average the vertices. We have to project the model on the target mesh anyway, so smooth that out. And I don't think there are any other area which need the same. Maybe around the lips. Okay, everything feels fine, but I'm just going to smooth out the center lines. Even around the nose. Okay, can you guys see this pinch effect? It's like all the meshes are pulled in one direction. You can see that almost everywhere we made points, as you can see here and here. These are the points which these are the parts where I created points. What Why these parts are looking like this? Because there are points, and it is going to try, and the base mesh is trying to wrap on the target mesh. Just imagine that the Zwrap is pulling all the meshes like this, and there are one or two vertex which will have this extreme pinch. So these things we have to smooth. We just have to smooth it a little bit. You have to project this target mesh, just keep that in mind. Smooth it out. As you can see, this whole area have a distorted topology. Just going to smooth it out. Anywhere else? And yes, definitely there will be some distortions, but in this low poly model we can't see much. There are few here. I'm just going to smooth it overall. And in this eye area you can see the major distortion. Smooth it out. Smooth it out. Smooth. This eye we may have to work on a little bit. Right now I'm just going to push it like that. And even this nose bridge. So if you think that once you clicked all the points, once you created all the points and wrapped in Zwrap, the work is done. I don't think so. You have to always do these small minor edits in ZBrush or Blender or whichever software you have after Zwrap. There is a possibility to get perfect Zwraps, but you may have to create more points, and more points mean more pinches also. So it's always a best practice to have less points and make all the small edits in ZBrush. Okay. I think this much is fine. I'm just going to project it a few times and see how it's going to look. Project all. Okay, this area is not coming properly. And anyway, I don't think I want to project details from eye, but still I'm going to make it as decent as possible. Okay, now all the wrapping process is done. All we have to do is now we have to check if the texture actually works. So for that, I'm going to import a texture from TextureXYZ, V-face texture, and place it on top of it, and then we have to see if there's any distortion or anything like that. So far I can't find anything. Everything seems good for me. So this is the model with the texture applied, the texture which I got from V-face. So I don't find any issues. Everything looks fine. This texture is just for a preview. I'm just going to check if there's any issue with the model or the wrapping process, any distortion or any blurriness which I can fix. So far I don't find any issues. So I think it's good to go. We can start the next process, which is baking the texture from this mesh onto the actual base mesh that I have created, because it has a different UV, and that UV will be part of this whole body. So tune in for the next video where I'll be baking the texture from this XYZ base mesh to the model which I created. So thank you for watching this, guys. If the video was helpful for you and you learned something, please click the like button and subscribe to view all my future works, and share this video to your colleagues if possible. See you on the next video. Bye.